Hello, and welcome to today's episode. If you've already heard the introduction before, then just skip ahead about 4 minutes. Otherwise, the Bible is referred to as the living Word of God. It isn't a book that is meant simply to be read. It is a perspective-altering substance that is meant to be ingested and absorbed into you. And when it becomes a part of you, it changes you. And that is exactly what it is meant to do. A psalm is a spiritual song based on real-life experiences that reveal a profound foundational insight that is then expressed in the form of music, which is usually played on a harp. This is my own paraphrase of the Psalms. Now, there is an important difference between a paraphrase and a translation, and it is important to understand what that difference is. A translation takes a text word by word, and it finds the most accurate word in another language to convey the meaning of that original word. But sometimes getting the details right can come at the expense of the big picture. For example, the literal translation for a butt dial and the literal translation for a booty call could end up being exactly the same if they were both translated very literally into another language. But we all know that those are two very different ideas. A paraphrase, on the other hand, is attempting to capture the spirit of the idea that is being expressed. But both approaches come with their own disadvantages. Sometimes, the most literal translation for each word, while technically accurate, loses something in its translation. For example, if you were to translate the phrase, "cat got your tongue," into another language, it would make no sense to them. Why would a cat grab your tongue? What are you even talking about? In order to convey the original idea, you would have to find out which saying is used in that other language to express the same concept, but it might not involve a cat, or even any animal at all, and so the literal translation would not be a very accurate one. But in a case like the one that I just described, the idea is more important than sticking to a very literal translation that loses all of its intended meaning. However, because paraphrases are an individual's interpretation of the underlying idea, instead of a rigorous academic translation of the word, they are not as objectively accurate as a translation is. A paraphrase is a lot more subjective, and that makes it much more susceptible to interpretations that are way off the mark of the original text's intent. The focus of a translation is on detailed accuracy, and sometimes the broader picture is not conveyed very clearly as a result. The focus of a paraphrase is on painting that big picture, but it often loses the accuracy of the finer details. Both are useful as long as you understand which is which, and what the disadvantages to each approach are. And that is why I recommend using both an accurate translation, like the New American Standard, and a responsible paraphrase. Psalm 65. To the music director, a psalm of David to sing. To you, divine creator, the silence that comes from wonder is fitting praise in Zion, as is taking action to live with integrity. Because binding vows that are made to you are to be kept. You hear the critical prayer that is inherently a part of those acts, which is why every creature with a spark of life in it is instinctively drawn to you, including me. When I am overcome by my lowest instincts and deliberately choose to act on them in willful defiance, and the guilt of my decisions overwhelms me, having become too heavy for me to bear, you purge away our crimes of betrayal and atone for them so that we can be set free from that contaminating burden and reconciled to your tender affection. How elevated and enviable in their happiness is the person that you select to woo and draw close to you, so that they can make themselves at home in your courtyards. For in your home, the holy sanctuary of your temple, we will be fully satiated with the goodness of your generous hospitality. There, we will find true fulfillment. For as the God of our saving grace, you answer us in perfect virtue by displaying wondrous deeds of justice that are so awe-inspiring that they are also terrifying. For you are the cosmic tamer, who is the confident hope of all the ends of the earth and of the souls who are far away navigating the most distant seas. And it is appropriate that you would hold that position of trust. For being wrapped in both bold strength and powerful self-control as the boundary setter, it was your firm might that founded the firm mountains and set them up. With this same authority, you still the rising chaos of the tribal mob in the same way that you calm the roaring of the seas and soothe its crashing waves. That is why the isolated people who live at the remote ends of the earth pause where they stand and stare in awestruck wonder at the visible signs of your presence, which they encounter all around them. For you cause every entrance and exit that is contained in the dawn's sunrise and the evening's sunset to echo with celestial calls of joy. You care for the land with your own presence. You saturate it with water and cause it to overflow as you endlessly enrich it with the life-giving water that overflows from the fountain of God. You prepare grain in order to provide for your creation, for this is its fertile purpose. So you soak the furrows of its fields and settle its soil, smoothing out its ridges. You soften the land with showers and encourage the growth of its new life, so that the earth will blossom with fruitful branches. You crown the end of the year with your bounty and goodness, and the tracks that you leave behind overflow with richness and fat. Those footprints, evidence of your presence, overflow, causing even the uncultivated pastures in the dry wilderness to drip with life, and the hills to wrap themselves in joy. The meadows are clothed with flocks, and the deep valleys are covered with blankets of grain. So they shout for joy, and they also sing out together in unity. I pray that whatever voice God might choose to give me in this world, He would also give me the words that I should use it for. These words have meaning for me, and if they had some meaning for you as well, then I am truly grateful that we have both been given a gift from above and from each other. Have a good day out there, my friends.